Good afternoon and welcome to Monday, May 13th, HR Business Service Committee meeting. It is 4:35 and we are excited to get started. We have a guest presentation for this meeting. Brian Brown, our Manager of Facilities for the Summer Construction Updates. We'll turn it over to him. Thank you.
Good evening. I just want to give you a brief overview of what we're planning on doing this summer. We got a lot of projects. These are the big projects. I didn't include all the little ones because there's too many numerous ones to include. First thing is this week we are starting at the Lincoln Park School on the pool. We're replacing the liner in it because it's all cracked up, and the filter system is shot. So we're putting a new filter system in, new circulation pumps, and new motors. And that is to start Thursday, I believe. And we have everything that we need is actually been shipped to us already. So there's no lead time, so we can get started right away. The next one is the big project, is Lowell Elementary. And at Lowell this summer, we're going to be replacing the windows and some of the siding, repair some sheetrock, replace carpet, expand the cafeteria, replace tile in the hallways, possibly put a wall up in the gym that they can use for the art room. And then we had a semi back into the loading dock there. So we have some serious repairs that we have to do there, including the big overhanging door there. At Homecroft, okay, sure, okay, sorry. Sure.
The Lincoln Park Middle School project, how long do you think, is that going to be a summer-long project?
I believe that they got it scheduled for 2 months.
I figured that's probably a pretty big
Yeah.
project. Thank you.
Lowell will be starting as soon as school is out, and we have that scheduled to tentatively be done by the 23rd of August, I believe it is. It's the week before teachers come back. Homecroft, we're redoing the parking lot. It doesn't drain very well, so we're putting new drainage in there. Replacing the sidewalk, the retaining wall on the front of the building, and then the parking lot lights. We're changing them to LEDs. At Stowe, we're replacing the entire front sidewalk of the building. It is really buckled up. We have some pretty dangerous trip hazards there, so we're working on getting that replaced. And then we're gonna be replacing all the lockers in the building. Currently, the lockers are only 5 inches wide, and the kids can't get their backpacks or their boots in there, so everything is out sitting in the halls, which is is against fire code. So they have, I guess eventually, at one time, the school had like almost 700 kids in, so they needed them small lockers, and now they have less than 400, so they can get by with a 12-inch locker, so their stuff will fit in there. We're going to be doing crack filling and seal coating on parking lots at Condon, Denfield, Lakewood, Leicester, Lincoln, Lowell, Lower Mac, Ordine, Piedmont, and Rock Ridge. The only two that we're not doing that to is Homecroft because they're getting a new parking lot. And East, we are just going to do some patching there, and we're going to schedule to do East parking lot next summer because it's in such bad shape. So another project is the transportation addition. We're putting a partial bay onto the end of the transportation for the utilities that were located down at Garfield. And so we're putting a 50 by 60 addition on there for them to have their shop in there. Denfield, we are going to be replacing some more restroom walls. We've had a lot of issues with the kids knocking down the stalls in there, and we just put them up, they just take them down again. So we tried it in 2 sets of bathrooms that we put block walls up, a 4-inch block wall between the stalls. Haven't had any issues since, so that took care of it. Myers Wilkins, we're replacing the fence around the playground. At Laura Mack, there are 12 rooms that are carpeted that are in pretty bad shape. So because they use that school all year round, we can't take all the carpeting out of the school. So we're just going to do 12 rooms. We did 4 last year. We're doing 12 this year. At Ordine, we have some sidewalk replacement. There's several tree trimming projects at a bunch of the schools. We have some boundaries that we need to get clarification on and clear cut them so we know exactly where our property, and because we have people intruding on our property, so. And then the D&T, we're going to finish up demo and start working on the remodeling on that. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Any questions?
And the funding from this, can you just clarify for our community where the funding for all these projects comes from?
All of it's coming up LTFM. The door at Lowell, insurance is paying for that. And whatever the insurance doesn't pay for, we're allowed to pay for it through LTFM funding. But everything else that we're doing is all through LTFM funding.
Yep, so that means with LTFM funding, that this is funding set aside so that we can do management and upkeep of all of our properties.
That's correct.
This is no new additional tax burden on our community. All right, thank you for that clarification, and I open it up to other questions.
Just curious about the fencing at the Myers Wilkins playground. Is that going to be all enclosed then? Because I know when I
That is what our
visited-
plan is,
Yep.
and we're not going to have the bars anymore. The bars seem to the welds get broke, and then the kids get heads cut in between them, so we're going to put a regular chain link fence around them. It'll be powder coated, it'll look very nice, it'll be black powder coated, so it'll look good.
Sounds good.
Hello, I have a question.
Yeah, Member Banks, please, do you just want to wave so I know when you have a question, Member Banks?
Yeah, I put the thing up with my hand up. I don't know if you see that, so.
Okay.
I heard, I just didn't, I'll be honest, I didn't know he was there. I would have let the board.
Hi, Member Banks. Hi, Member
Hello.
All right.
See you.
Please ask your question, and sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. I have actually 3 questions. So my first question is more specific to, and can you hear me okay?
Turn it up just a little bit.
We're turning you up.
Okay, my first question
Okay.
is more specific to Laura MacArthur Elementary School
Yep,
and the playground area there. I know there was some concerns from administrators at that school with regard to safety concerns on the playground area. Are you going to be doing anything there to either put up chain link fencing, or has that issue been resolved with regard to the safety concerns? And then my other 2 questions are more specific to Lincoln Park Middle School and the pool. Is the pool, or will the pool be open to the public? And the second question is, what is the annual operational cost to keep the pool open?
I
If
believe.
you have those answers.
I believe that the pool is open to the public through community ed for some things. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know what the operation of the pool is, but I can send you that email with that information if you'd like. Pools are kind
Okay,
of,
that would be great.
pools are expensive to operate. But I can get that to you. I can get that to tomorrow, matter of fact. And then at Laura Mack, I'm not sure what the playground issues were. I know that we've inspected all the playgrounds, and our health and safety person, Lexi Neff, has been working on getting the repairs done. I know there was some conversation about maybe switching some property with the city, and we take over that playground and that big field in front, and the city would, where the tennis courts are for, is it Valley Youth? Yeah, Spirit Valley Youth Center. So we haven't had any discussions on that yet. It was just mentioned to me at a couple meetings, so we'll be looking at that. But yeah, if you know what the concerns are about the Lower Mac playground, please forward them to me. We'll look into it right away.
Sure, and I just wanted, I don't want to prolong this, but I just wanted to mention that because I know the principal there had some concerns about safety, especially safety off of Grand Avenue with regard to the kids there. And so I just wanted to bring that up. I didn't know if it was resolved or if it was really an issue or concern. So I just wanted to make sure that was on record.
Okay,
Thank you.
you bet.
Brian, can you talk a little bit about how we prioritize these projects and how we choose what gets done when?
Well, the Lowell project was because we had a major flood there last year. We had a lot of water coming in the building off the hill. And so there was concerns about the carpeting in there. So we're taking in, and schools, elementary schools should not have, any school should not have any carpeting anymore. Carpeting is the most dirty, disgusting things you can have in schools. I always say, you know, the kids come in from playground, their shoes are dirty, they walk on the floor, and guess what? First thing the next morning, they're eating their breakfast on the floor. And it's like, so in St. Cloud, we got rid of all the carpeting in all the schools. It took a couple years, but we eventually got rid of all the carpeting. The tile floors are much more clean. You actually find out that it's a healthy environment because you don't have kids getting sick so much because it's a nice clean tile floor. So that's what brought in the Lowell's, and then we had some windows that were leaking. And then we just figured since we were replacing the carpeting in the hallways, the tile in a few of the wings is pretty bad, that red wing. Now, we're not doing anything on the music wing, and we're not doing any tile in the hallways on the blue wing, but just the rooms we're gonna be doing in them wings. And then, again, the tile in the cafeteria and the art room doesn't match, and since the art room is gonna become the cafeteria, and the cafeteria tile is in really bad shape, we're gonna be replacing all that with new VCT. And we chose VCT because VCT has been around forever. It's hard, it's sturdy, it's got a lot of strength. The new LVTs that they came out with, they look great. You don't have to wax them, but they scratch. And once they're scratched, you just can't get them, and they scuff real bad. You can't get the scuffs out. So, as far as the rest of them, it is, go around the district, and I just see projects that it's just exploding. The first couple weeks I was here last year, we had all the snow, and I went to Homecroft, and I was afraid I was gonna lose my truck. The parking lot was so rough, and in the spring it was just like, oh my God, and the sidewalks are all buckled, and it's just bad drainage. It's actually running towards the building, it gets in the building and goes down in the basement, so that was one we looked at right away. The crack filling and seal coating hasn't been done in the district for years. And if you want to prolong your parking lots as long as you can, you really need to have a program to keep up on that, especially the crack filling, because water gets in those cracks and it just starts eroding underneath, and that's when it starts to, what they call crocodile, it just starts breaking off in little pieces all the way. So.
And then I'm assuming too, we follow our 10-year facilities plan as well. Like,
Yes,
yes, yeah.
we have a 10-year plan, and so we follow that. Sometimes things come up
Yep.
that you just have to do it. Like the carpeting at Lower Mac, we had 4 rooms last year that were bad. This year we went through, and I mean, they have big pieces of tape on them, and so that's a tripping hazard, and there's parts of them missing. They're in severe bad shape. We would like to do the whole building, but we can only do so much. So we really pick out the worst ones, so.
I think for the most part, you know, we try to follow the LTFM plan, and then kind of that health and safety factor that might bring a priority for something else. You know, many of the things that Brian has mentioned have either a safety or a health factor that or something like a flood where you weren't anticipating that kind of pushes it to the top of the
Perfect.
list.
Thank you. All right, do we have other questions?
Yeah, John.
Is carpeting at the elementary level really the worst thing in the world? No, just kidding. Thank you. No, that was my favorite statement of the meeting so far.
Yeah, carpeting is,
There's no 5-second rule with
No.
kindergarten carpet.
and then some of them are napping on the floor, and it's like, oh.
That's great. Well, if we have no other questions, I want to thank you. And while we have you here, we'll just, well, you know what, I can't skip without amending, so we'll just come back to our facilities department report as well. So
All right.
thank you.
You bet.
I appreciate it. So now let's move on to our departmental reports, and we'll start out with human resources. We have in our board book, you can see again with the number of hires for certified, non-certified, retirements, resignation, and leave of absences. And it's great to see that we're continuing to accelerate in the number of people that we are hiring. There is going to be a number of what am I trying to say here? There's going to be a number of job fairs that Human Resources will also attend, including the Northeast Minnesota Job Training. They attended at Black Bear Casino, Iron Trail Motors Event Center in Virginia, also monthly job fairs at Career Force Center, and also they're going to have tables at the Carlton County Job Fair, the Juneteenth celebration, and of course our Unity in the Community celebration as well. We're always, at these job fairs, we spend our time focusing on promoting non-certified staffing positions, including bus drivers and helpers, maintenance positions, paraprofessional, and food services. I want to just give a big shout out and appreciation to our HR department. We heard nothing but great things about the employee wellness fair, so thank you very much for that. That is great. And if you'd like to take a few minutes and talk about it, we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, so it was the first one, and I think it was well attended. We figured about 150, which obviously for the first one is not bad. Of course, we'd like to see more participation, and we learned some things this time around as far as timing and logistics, but I think it was well attended, and there was a great variety of vendors here that someone had an interest in at least one of them, and the fire department came, and the police department came, and so some other things that maybe weren't necessarily specific to an employee, but for some really good information from those as well as everyone else that came. And staff really did, I would love to take ownership of it, but I did very little, and the staff really ran it, made sure that it went off without a hitch, and did all the communications, and we had plenty of donations. Also, that we did prize drawings, which we will be drawing tomorrow, and the donations will be on the board report next month. But so a lot of the vendors provided information and donations that we could give away to employees as well.
Thank you. That's a great idea. And thank you. And please pass on to the staff how much we appreciate their attention. Thank you. Hiring updates to date for our 24-25 academic school year. We've posted 128 certified openings, and we've filled 78. That's great. Let's see here. For the 24-25 academic year, again, we've posted 59 non-certified openings and have filled 39. So Executive Director Severance, do you feel like we are on track to make sure we have all the staff hired that we need?
I do feel like we're on track. We've had our final budget meetings with principals, and that's where there has been a delay in some of those things with especially the new models in middle school and high school, and making sure that we have what staff is needed based on the course offerings. So there's still some that will trickle in, but I'm relatively confident that we'll have everything posted before school ends, and hopefully even before that, but there will always be those that come through the summer. But I think we're on a really good target, and our para hiring particularly right on time with that, and we're seeing lots of movement with that as well. So
Great, thank you. I know how hard the district has worked to streamline those processes over the last couple of years, and I think it's really speaking. You can see the work coming to fruition now, so thank you very much for that. Do we have any questions for Executive Director Severance? Oh, and then finally, we have the contract negotiations. Sorry, that's very important. We have some upcoming negotiation dates with education directors, the National Conference of Firemen and Oilers, the clerical units, and they're still waiting with the District-Wide Instructional Administrators Association. So that's where we're at with contract negotiations. Again, are there any questions that any of the members have?
How are we with our custodian hires? I know that, over the last year and a half or so, we've been a little short, quite a bit short.
This year, we really filled a lot of our custodian positions. Where we're finding the gap is now is that next level that requires a boiler's license. And so in negotiations and actually collective discussions with that unit, we're trying to come up with ways that we can have people qualify for that, because that's more of our miss right now is that engineer level, because they need a special license, and our custodians, while we have a lot, are not coming up with that licensure to move forward.
So we've looked into how we could maybe promote folks and get them that licensure?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And it is a unique testing process, but one of the things that we've been looking at with the negotiations team as well as the leadership of that union is modifying our job descriptions so that maybe there's a lesser qualification. We have very high qualifications here. They're greater than the state requirement, and so we're trying to balance that out. And then also providing those opportunities. They do have trainings and testing. They fill up really quick. So I know we've also been looking at how do we maybe drive our own testing and training process. We've helped buy the books for the staff to go through that process along with the union, and we do pay for them when they get those tests or those licensure. And part of our negotiation too is maybe what does that incentive look like going forward, something that's maybe a little more pleasing to folks that want to go do it rather than, because right now there's not a lot of incentive for it.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to business services, and we'll start out with our enrollment update. As what happens this time of the year, we see a change in our enrollment numbers, and right now we're sitting right around 7,988.14. So we don't want to know what the .14 child looks like, but again, as I say every month, we have, when we did our budgeting process last year, we made sure to budget conservatively, and so we have been, we have served more students than what we have budgeted for last year, and we hope to continue to do that. So do we have any questions on the enrollment reports? Great, moving on to our child nutrition, my favorite report. Exciting stuff happening in child nutrition. We have our milk bids for 2024 to 2026. We also have, so should we pause for a minute and go ahead and hear from our child nutrition department?
That would be me. Sheila Oak has worked hard on the milk bid. It's been completed now for the next 2 years, so we're excited about that. I want to be clear about the summer meals are set for Stowe, Laura Mack, Denfield, Lincoln, Myers, Piedmont, and Rockridge for enrolled students only. Child Nutrition will partner with various groups throughout the city to supply bag meals to their groups, Boys and Girls Clubs, AICHO, et cetera. Breakfast and lunch will be served starting June 17th through August 16th.
Executive Director Zunich, that was something that is a change from last year. This year, we will be looking at enrolled students only. Can you sort of speak to that change?
It is regarding the free lunch mandate, and so there are more parameters with that. And yes, during the pandemic time, they opened it up to all students, and now it's for enrolled students only.
And do we have a way to figure out, how are we, just their lunch number? Is that kind of what we're going to do this summer?
You mean as far as how many to anticipate?
Well, how we're going to know they're enrolled?
Oh, yes, they have an ID number,
Yeah.
yes. And then we're, I'm excited to say that they are implementing a new child nutrition software
read that.
program. So that will go into effect of July 1 of '24. It will integrate with Infinite Campus. So we're working through that process, and I'm assured that that will be a much different process, and it will be smooth.
Great. And then just for clarification, the reason why we're changing this and changed from last summer where we served all kids last summer to this summer is this is parameters that have been put on us by the state of Minnesota.
That is
not a
correct.
conscious decision by the Duluth
No,
Public Schools.
that is
Okay,
correct.
Perfect. And then lastly, we got our additional DOD fresh fruits and vegetable money. So that's great. We got $15,000 to spend on fresh fruits and vegetable with the government commodity program. So we'd used up our $265,000 at the end of March, and now we can get us through May. So that's great news. All right. Awesome. Moving on to, oh, I'm sorry. I'll open it up for questions. Do we have any questions on child nutrition?
Not a question, but just a comment. As we've been working hard as a school board to get out into our schools, one of the questions I always ask is just, what do the lunches look like? And even though there are, more prepackaged maybe, than we would want, the positive is they are healthy meals and they're getting a lot of fruits and vegetables, our kiddos, and that's really good to hear. They can always go back for more. And I've heard that throughout the schools, and it's just really great to hear.
Great. And I would also like to add that the Wellness Committee will be, it's always in place, our wellness plan, but they're going to be reactivating it because since the pandemic, the committees weren't meeting regularly, but they will start meeting again. But we always have the wellness plan in place. We're always encouraging, low sugar, more fruits and vegetables. But I think we need to start reinforcing that plan a bit more.
All right, moving on, we have our facilities department report. And of note on this report, I just want to bring the attention to the Denfeld Clock Tower. So the final clock GPS and gearing installation is going to be happening soon, May 14th. I drive in, I'm like, oh, not set yet. Oh, not set yet. Yay, so that'll be exciting. That's been a long process. I think it's great. And I also want to raise up our operations staff as we come off National Cleaning Week. So I just want to raise those staff members up, and their contribution to the district and to the kids and families we serve cannot be overstated. So we want to make sure we thank them. Do we have any questions on the facilities report? I don't even know where I'm at here. Great, moving on to the technology report. Oh, perfect, yay, okay. Okay. I know, right? So excited.
Thank you. I'll start off with the cybersecurity, like I usually do, but I've added the Zix email security. We implemented that several months ago, and that's basically a pre-filter to all of our inbound emails. So you can see that the numbers are a little less than our Google ones because the Google one includes all the emails, including our inbound, our internal ones as well. But that is actually catching a lot of spam and viruses even before Google does. And then in Google itself, we have a lot of keywords in there specifically for the district for phishing, like gift cards, stuff like that, where it may be going through the Zix because it is from a legitimate Gmail account, but we already say if it says a gift card or if it says some keywords that we've seen phishing emails, those are being blocked. So I added that in there. And then it's the Gmail, how many emails that we've had internally is 1.1 million emails accepted, delivered. 74,000 were rejected, 46,000 went into people's spam folders, 1.1 thousand were identified as phishing, 33 were identified having suspicious attachments, and 5.5K were identified as spoofing, and 0 with malware, which is good. Our active accounts is going down a little bit. Our storage is going up just a little bit. It's still at 25.91 terabytes. Our file sharing, suspicious login attempts and failed login attempts is all down, which those are all good signs. Our data loss has actually went up quite a bit this last month. 235 were stopped by Google. For E-rate, no E-rate bids at this time. We'll be going out in the next 2 months for our wide area network internet. Right now, Spectrum has that, so it'll be a 5-year contract. It'll go out this late summer, fall. We'll probably award it November, December for your approval to review, and then it has to be posted with E-rate and wait for their approval on that. And then our tickets, we have 333 new tickets that were open this month. 331 tickets were resolved. 204 tickets remain unresolved. And then the remaining summer projects is the school board room, and I was hoping everything would be working today. Pretty much a lot of stuff is working, except for we can't control any of the cameras. So we had to move the tables around to match for the cameras because we can't move them right now. So I will be emailing the contractor because they're waiting to hear, it's like, everything's working. But it seems like the AV stuff, when people have been presenting, that's working, but for the cameras, for the live streams, we just found out. It was working Friday before he left. Everything worked Friday. And so something is not working right. Then for the summer, our summer projects, I included our bid 1316, which is our network infrastructure. We'll be replacing 264 switches across the district. So those will have downtime with every school we visit. We're going to try to do the summer school ones on Friday or after they're done, but it will impact all the school buildings except for these 3 up here on campus. So it's a sizable project. They'll probably take all summer to do that with the crew. We also will be purchased and distributing 1,600 Chromebooks for students, and those will be going to the 5th and 9th graders. That's what Peter Graves is looking at, and then we'll have some extra ones for some of the elementaries, I think. We'll also be replacing 350 Dell desktop computers to get ready for our Windows 11 migration for the summer 2025. And that's it for my report.
And then just for clarification, the funding for the $1.4 million in order for us to replace and upgrade the 264 network switches within the district is coming from?
That was partial E-rate funding. We used all of our Category 2 E-rate funding on this last order. Actually, we had to reduce our E-rate fund or ask because we didn't even have enough. So the rest of it came out of, it was ESSER.
Bart, do you want to explain what E-rate funding is?
Yeah, for the E-rate funding is for the federal government, the USAC. So what I have to do is we have to go through a bid process, and then it goes out through, E-rate actually posts it on their website. We can also put it in the local paper and advertise like we do, but they have specific requirements of it has to be out there for 28 days, has to be open to all nationwide, anybody in the nation. And then we get them back and we review them. And then it goes to you guys for which one we recommend. But then after that, it has to go to E-rate for them to review and approve. And then they'll say, yes, we support this. And they'll do matching funds. And usually for us, it's 60% on here for that. And we actually used all of our E-rate funds for our Category 2, which is this kind of type of hardware. So we received a little bit less than what we were anticipating, but that's all the funding we had available.
And then we also used what we have left of ESSER funding for the rest of it. And then coming to the 1,600 Acer Chromebooks for students and the 350 Dell desktops, is the funding E-rate from that as well, or that funding?
They won't provide any desktops or solutions like that. It's all network connectivity, like our wireless, our internet, our firewall, switches, but they won't provide any one-to-one devices or smart boards or audio systems. It all has to be internet.
Okay, so then that funding comes from?
That was ESSER as
That was
well.
ESSER funding as well, okay. So just want to bring attention to, we are using up the last little bit of our ESSER funding to support the technology needs of our district. And so that funding is going to be going away or is gone essentially. And now as part of our community, our ask of our community with the referendum, we're going to the community to ask them to provide us with funding so that when it comes to replacing Chromebooks and desktops and all the other technology needs, we have a reliable funding source. Superintendent Magus, is there anything, or Bart, is there anything you both would like to add to that?
I know roughly, to keep our fleet of Chromebooks is roughly 2,000 to 2,500 per year. So yeah, this is a yearly cost to keep our blended learning going. Go ahead.
I was just going to add, the E-rate funding is a little complicated, and it takes some work to get all that information. We do work with someone at ARC too that does help manage the E-rate work for a lot of districts, but Bart does a great job in doing all that work.
And I would just like to add that this is a really critical question for our community, and we're really appreciative of the dialogue we have. And I'd also like to give a special thanks to Mr. Smith for all of the work he has done in so many meetings. I can't count the number of times that I've started the day with Bart and ended the day with Bart through community meetings, and he's always sharing great information about what this means to us, how it can be applied, personalized stories, and I really, really am appreciative of the work he's done, as well as the work of Peter Graves in getting the message out related to technology. Many people have taken part in it. I look around the table and pretty much everybody here has done quite a bit, but Bart in particular, since we're on technology, I just want to say thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Bart. We really appreciate it. Do we have any questions from the other committee members? All right, we'll move on to our transportation report for 2024 in April. We know that staffing is continuing to be a challenge. We're still short 2 helpers and some drivers. Again, we want to thank Joe. He's been dealing with the staff and their concern, and occasionally he's continuing to sub on a route, so we want to thank him. Deb is back on the transportation team and working as a router and a driver. And she's also taking part in professional development courses. That's great. Our bus maintenance, our mechanics are working hard to keep our repairs and our maintenance, but now that we have our fancy shed, we know for sure that our buses are incurring some less damage because we have the ability to wash them and keep them clean in the winter, and some of that day-to-day wear now we can.
They're well cared for.
Yeah, they always look spiffy and shining running around the community. So that is what we have for our transportation report. Do we have any additions to that or questions for that report?
Just a note, if you look out the window, you can see some of our new vans that we're able to purchase to assist with transportation. They have a great Every Student Every Day logo on the side. Those are intended for increasing focus on students that are challenged with attendance and being able to have schools specifically go out and support with that transportation. And I want to thank Mr. Bonds for a lot of the work that he did in putting that together as well.
Thank you. All right, so we have, what do we have? We have 2 recommended resolutions that will bring forth the acceptance of donations to our Duluth Public Schools, and we see quite a few that are coming through for our debate team. And we also have a resolution to the designation of the superintendent as the identified official with authority for the Minnesota Department of Education financial. So that's kind of a big deal. You probably should be the individual with authority on that one. So that's good. So we have those 2 recommended resolutions. And then as we move on, we have a consent agenda where we can see our staffing report that is supplied to us every month with our appointments, leaves, resignations, and for certified and non-certified. And then moving on to our finances, if we look at our financial report, you can see how the money is being distributed through the year for this budget summary. But of note, I wanted to bring to attention that there's a note on here dated May 13th for the 2024 HR Finance Committee meeting having to do with the signing fund balance permission to facilitate the transfer for FY24 and FY25. The district is respectfully requesting permission to utilize funds from the assigned fund balance to offset general fund deficit spending for the current year, FY24, and next year, FY25. The current audited FY23 assigned fund balance is 17, roughly almost $18 million. So for the fiscal year 24, we would like to transfer an estimate of up to $5,000. That doesn't, $5 million, excuse me. We wish it was 5,000. An estimate up to $5 million to balance with our audit work. This will potentially offset labor and benefit costs. And for fiscal year 25, our assigned fund balance transfer is again up to $5 million. This is again to offset potential labor and benefit costs. Executive Director Zunich, would you like to comment more on that?
Yes, so when I presented the first reading of the budget at the Committee of the Whole, it was recommended that I bring this language. There really is not a resolution. It's just we want the highest authority of the district to be aware of it and to approve it. You know, we have to do all of our audit work, yes, still. There's much work that will need to be done. So that's why we're using a transfer estimate. So that is what that business is for. I will be doing one more budget summary in June, and then we won't see another one until September, because then we're going to start our audit work. So that is happening there. I also wanted to add that, aside from all the financials here, that Sheila Stevens, our finance manager, and our purchasing coordinator, Kathy Holman, attended MASBO last week. Those are fantastic workshops, conferences to go to. It keeps business managers up to date. It's a great networking arena. And we will continue doing further education too for the business office. And I also forgot to say our new Mars coordinator, Phil Paulson, started today. His name's Philip, but he likes to go by Phil. I already asked him today that I will ask him to come to one of our meetings probably next month so you can meet him. Our contracted Mars coordinator, Kayla Carroll, came in today, and she'll be working with him as much as is needed. So he comes to us from a lot of experience, but then Duluth is a big district and has a lot of unique things too, so.
That's great news, and I just want to quickly put some context around these assigned fund balance transfers. These have to do with, again, very thoughtful, directed, and strategic decisions that the district has made. Worked into this balance transfer, or some of the is having to do with our new middle school model, our new high school model. And again, we came back and settled our Duluth Federation of Teachers contracts for 2 consecutive contracts. So these fund transfers were planned on. And while we are moving funds from our fund balance, we are also working on making sure that the district is operating as efficiently as possible. So while we are also moving funds for some specific plans that have been in the making over the last 3 years, we're also making sure that we are tightening our belts in areas that can absorb it, and then also making sure that we're using our finances as strategically as possible, because we understand the community, and we want to make sure our community knows how seriously we take making sure our budget is operating to the best capacity for our kids, while also meeting the fiduciary responsibility to our community as well. So if there's any questions or any comments, now is the time.
I would just like to reinforce what you said and really think about the promises that we're making with our referendum. These are, I know that some people have commented in public that we won't use those resources for the things that we've said we would, but that actually would not be legal, and it would not be permitted, and so that's something that we need to think about. But really, as you mentioned, the assigned fund balance, that's intended for a stair-stepping down from our ESSER spending. We've seen a lot of other people kind of hit that fiscal cliff, which is not a good thing. We still will be having reductions, even if the referendum does not pass tomorrow. We will have significant multi-million-dollar reductions. So it's important for us to realize, and for the public to realize, that we are tightening our belt in many, many ways, and some of these ways are going to have impact on our students. So I'm appreciative that you explain things in that way.
Do we have any questions? Great. We have some bids, RFPs, and quotes. We have our dairy bid from Kemp's for $330,000. We also have our food requirement, a bid 1317, which is a food requirement extension. And this is from Upper Lakes Food. All right, those are our 2 bids, RFP and quotes. We had no contracts, change orders, or leases, and we have some expenditure contracts this month. We have expenditure contracts for facilities, the Office of Educational Equity, Teaching and Learning, and then also some other services, early childhood special services. And you can find those expenditure contracts on page 24 of the HR Business Services Committee agenda. Yes.
Sorry, I have something to talk about on the expenditures.
yay, yes.
Yes. On the expenditure contracts, the last two are our school today for $1,821, one at Denfeld, one at East. I'm super excited about this. We already use our school today as a scheduler for activities and athletics, but we are now going to be using the software that allows students and families now to register their students through this portal. And it's going to be, again, like with the transportation software and the milk software, we're trying to really streamline our processes. That was our commitment. And it's going to be, it's going to be a process to set it up. I'm looking at Sheila because she'll have to be doing some setup here in the accounting side. But in the long run, it's going to be very cost-effective for the district.
And it also sounds like it will be an ease of access for families as well.
100%, yes.
That's great. Do we have any questions for Executive Director Zunich, sorry. Moving on next to expenditure contracts. Here we are. We have one this month from the Minnesota Department of Education for a joint powers agreement for Project Aware. And then lastly, we have some grant applications for the National Restaurant Association Education Foundation, $2,000 to the Duluth East Culinary Arts. This is going to cost a registration fee for some professional development for our teachers, I believe. Yes. And then also the Minnesota Department of Education District College Career and Life Readiness. This is a $500,000 grant. And this grant has to do with supporting our efforts to close the opportunity gap for our students of color, special education, and economically disadvantaged students, and helping them explore and be ready for options after high school that will open up choices for them. And then lastly, we have the Denfeld Speech Team, $3,500 to help support financially the Denfeld Speech Team members as they compete at the National Speech and Debate Tournament.
Just a quick comment. I think you see in two of the three, there's a focus on career and technical education. And I know sometimes the public is asking, are we seeking additional funds? Are we just looking to the federal and state government and local taxpayers? No, we're really trying to seek out additional resources, whether they're grant funding or otherwise. And just a shout out, speaking of the culinary arts and CTE, to the group that ran the grill wars down by the Duluth Public Library. It was a really incredible event, great opportunity for our kids, and amazing burgers.
That's awesome. I
Took the words right out of my mouth, and it was hard to get any work done. I was feeling a little sleepy after that event, but all the burgers were very tasty, and all the students did a really great job.
Did you get the meat sweats afterwards? It looked like it was great coverage. It looked like the students just had a great time, and everybody involved looked like they had a lot of joy, so that was great.
And besides the great, food, my favorite part, before the food even, was just hearing the students talk about their burgers and what they did to create because each one was different, had their own take on the burger, different ingredients, and it was a really good opportunity for them to practice their public speaking skills too, and kind of interact with the community. So it was great.
That sounds great. Do we have any other questions, or everybody good? All right, great. That concludes this month's HR Business Services Committee meeting. Thank you.